Hi, I'm Edwina Griffin. I'm very excited to be here on our wall on the property with Angel John Gallard, whose Aboriginal name is
Garrajawalang.
Garrajawalang. And what tribe are you from for that name?
Ngarigo.
Ngarigo tribe.
They're the local people. My grandmother's grandmother came from down here.
Okay, great. So we're lucky, very privileged to have him here because he's educating us about this wall that we had no idea was actually Aboriginal. So John, how did you come to know that the wall even existed on this place?
Now that's an interesting story. I wrote an article on a wall down at Mill Creek, and a member of the Snowy River Historical Society, Keith Clark, read the article and he rang me up and said, John, you know that wall you've got down at Mill Creek, I've got another one for you. And I said, well, whereabouts? And he said, out on Barneys Range. He said, I'll take you out there and show you. I said, righto. So my son Evan and I came down and we met him, and he came out here, and it took us all morning to find it because it was 7 years since he'd seen it. And he's since told me the story about a young bloke, Brady, who worked down here.
Yeah.
Probably for your dad, I don't know. And he actually sort of called people's attention to it.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of history to it. And anyhow, eventually we found it after finding two other stone arrangements out on the end of the ridge here, and a lot of Aboriginal artefacts along the ridge. And then when I saw it, I came down here to this end and I was just blown away. I looked at it and I said, wow, that's a wall and a half. I've never seen a wall as good as that, and it's not European. It's not built according to the technique that they use in Europe and Great Britain. They have a special way of making dry stone walls. This one is massive. Like, they don't start off with 2 rows of stone either side and fill the middle up. This has got blocks of stone that run right through it. That block there near your feet is nearly a metre across.
Yeah.
The whole wall is 1.2 metres there, and it's 1.4 metres high.
And what was the purpose of the walls for the Aboriginals?
Well, this is the mystery. It was written up in the Herald as a mystery wall, and to a degree it's still a mystery wall because it's made up of 3 sections. And the 3 sections, they've got 2 on this side of the gorge and 1 on the other side. And there's a massive gorge, 90 metres deep, between the 3 walls.
Yeah. And you were saying that they may have done ceremony in the water holes, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A brother of mine from Arnhem Land, when I described it to him, he hasn't seen it yet, but I'm sure he's going to come down and have a look. He's dying to get down here.
Great.
But his time schedules are pretty tough because he has to go back up to Arnhem Land in school holidays to see family and that up there. But anyhow, he will get down here. And I just described it to him over the phone, and he immediately got blown away by it. He said, he said, that's a very special place. He said, is there a waterfall down the bottom? And I said, yes. He said, is there a plunge pool there? And I said, yes. And he said, you must go down and get some of that water. He said, this is special water.
Hey, I went swimming in it last summer. I feel blessed.
But the fascinating thing about it is that it starts here abruptly, it continues for 22 metres, stops abruptly, tapers off on the end of this first one actually to the ground level. Now whether that's because stock or animals have disturbed it, I'm not sure. The next one is 50 odd metres away, and it's offset to this wall by 4.5 metres. It's not dead in line. And it goes down to the edge of the cliff, and you've then got about a 30 metre drop into the gorge. It's all virtually vertical. I had to belay my cousin down to the edge of it with a GPS so that he could read it off.
And the article was saying something about possible alignment with stars, and are you exploring that? Or?
We don't know yet because we need to. I've got to plot this out. I've got GPS readings on it. I've now got to plot it out on graph paper, and then we've got to get somebody in Aboriginal. There's a fellow from CSIRO involved with Aboriginal astronomy, or Ray Norris his name is. He's done work on stuff down in Victoria. I'd like to try and get him to come and have a look at it and see what he thinks about astronomical connotations for it. Because it doesn't do anything as far as stock is concerned, or controlling, it doesn't appear to do anything as far as animal movements are concerned. You know, we just don't know exactly what its purpose is. And when you look at the massive size of the stone, that stone there, it'd take at least 6 men to lift that together and transport it in place, put it in place, and then get it settled, ready to put the next one on. So there's, and in the first metre of that, this first square metre of that wall, there's a good, nearly a tonne of stone in there.
Yeah, and you were explaining to me as well the lichen on the rocks and the age of the rocks. You thought maybe up to...
The lichen, there's lichen growing on here which is called a crutose lichen, these grey fellows, and then there's the map lichen, which are these green ones, and they're growing on top of other grey crutose, and then you've got this light grey crutose growing on top of darker grey ones, so there are multiple layers of lichen growth there. Now, these grey lichens are used for dating tombstones and burial places, and they grow at 0.5 of a millimetre to a millimetre per year in diameter. Right. So that one there is about 60 years old, that lichen. Yeah. Now, there are other lichens here on the rock face here that are 3 times the size of that. Yeah. And when you get round the other side of the wall, there are lichens that are covering rocks like that size. Wow. So we need a specialist in lichenometry, and I've sent an email off to a fella to help me with understanding of the technique, but we really need to get a couple of specialists out here. I have a diploma in geology, but you know, you can go so far with geology. You've got to look at the whole thing in the context of the topography that's here. Yeah. And we know that Aboriginal people lived up here in a place called Warm Corner. Okay. I haven't found where Warm Corner is yet.
Stop feeling that warm.
But I'm going to find where Warm Corner is, and we've got to look at the stone tools that are around the area as well, because there's lots of stone tool material here.
To show the age. And you were saying up to maybe 500 years, is that right?
Well, from the size of some of these lichens, I'm not an expert in lichenometry, but just looking at the size of them. I went in and measured some of the lichens on the gravestones in Cooma, and I then checked the tombstone dates, and I was within plus or minus 10 years of the date on the tombstone. And the fascinating thing about it, the first tombstone I went to was the name of a man who passed information down through another man. He was a Boer War veteran, Sockman, who worked over on the other side of the range here for the McGuffick family, and he told Berry McGuffick, who told me that Aboriginal people had built the stone wall over at Mill Creek, and that they had built other walls in the area. Wow. And I think this may be one of the other walls. Now, we haven't proved it yet, but if we can get some really good dating from the lichenometry, then we've got a very unique stone wall.
Exciting. Well, thank you so much.
The rest of it will be divulged as we go with the wall.
Yeah, we will.
The
spirit will bring us the story with us. So we will check in again and tune in on what happens and what spirit does bring us to find out the update on the wall. So thank you so much.
You can't hurry this, you have to go with it.
Yes, not my strong point, but I'm learning.